What's up guys, welcome to today's video. So as you saw in the description, I am running my first ever ultra marathon and I am super excited but also slightly terrified at the same time. But I think those are two of the coolest emotions to kind of mash up together. For those of you who are unfamiliar as to what an ultra marathon is a race that is anything over the marathon distance, so that 26.3, 26.4. The one I'm going to be running is on trail and it is a 50K, which means this specific race course is 31.1 miles long. So I've never been a huge runner. Like, I played soccer growing up and I've always been an athlete. I spent a ton of time in the gym with lifting, and just when COVID hit, gyms were kind of shutting down and I was just looking for something new to do. I personally love all things mountain biking and hiking, but I was like, well, I've never really dabbled into trail running. So I found a half marathon to sign up for in June of this year, which ended up getting canceled just because of COVID. I ran it on my own and still did the same race course, so that was super awesome. And then unfortunately in July, I wrecked my mountain bike, causing a dislocation of the shoulder. I had a humerus fracture and a partially torn labrum. So in the midst of just finishing that half marathon and then starting my training for my ultra, which is in T-minus 12 hours, I was in the middle of doing physical therapy and kind of rehabbing my shoulder. I wasn't able to run for about 4 weeks and I had to start my ultra marathon training late. So I didn't start training for this until around August 7th of this year. And speaking of training, so training for an ultra marathon is hard. It is very time consuming. It takes a ton of discipline, a ton of grit, and probably more than half of my training runs, I didn't want to do them. Like, I didn't want to get off the couch, or I didn't want to go running when it was dark, or I lifted that morning and I was fatigued in the afternoon. Like, it takes a ton of resilience to train for something super big. And I think that's why I chose to do an ultra marathon, is just to challenge not only my physical body, but my mental body. And it's something I told myself that I would never do or could never do. And like, that self-limiting belief was what drove me to sign up for the ultra and be like, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna do this hard thing to make myself more human, to challenge everything I thought I couldn't do, and to just make me a more well-rounded athlete and a more well-rounded human being too. And despite training being super hard and time consuming and tiring at times, and the actual race is gonna be very challenging. It's gonna take me 6, 7, 8 hours to complete. I 10 for 10 recommend it for the sheer fact of, if you want to learn more about yourself, what you're capable of, sky's the limit. And do we want to maybe like go right into running an ultra marathon if you're not someone who runs a ton? Not necessarily, unless you have a ton of time to train, because increasing volume and mileage and making sure you do it in a safe way is very important. Even if you're not a runner, start with a 5K, do a 10K. You can walk a 5K. So like, I think there's so much resistance to training for something really hard or doing something really big because we're afraid and it's daunting. And yeah, absolutely, it's slightly terrifying, but why don't we start with those little small chunks? So cool, I want to eventually run 100 miles. Awesome. Let's start with a 5K, and then you build and you build and you build, and next thing you know, 2-3 years later, you're doing these really awesome and epic races. And one last thing before I show you what's in my pack, I want you to remember that you don't have to run fast. Like, I'm not a super fast runner. I'm middle of the pack. You're not gonna see me at the front, you won't see me at the end. I'm like kind of right in the middle. And I think we compare ourselves too much to other people's paces and other people's training, when like, we're gonna be disappointed every time because we're not them. We have to focus on our progress, our programming, what we're doing, what's in front of us, because we get distracted by other people passing us or other people like lapping us. Like, that's okay. You are out there doing the work, putting in the miles and the time, and you don't have to be first. Like, you can just show up, move your body, have fun, find that trail magic, and just cross the finish line, no matter like if you are in the front, in the middle, or in the back. you're also a runner no matter what you look like. So there is a stereotypical stigma around having to look a certain way in order to be a runner or to start running. Anyone can be a runner no matter what your background is, no matter how tall, short, what size you are, none of that. There's no pre-qualifying factors to be a runner. And if you run a quarter of a mile, you are a runner. You don't have to run 100 miles. You don't have to run 200 miles. You don't have to do these big races to start to be a runner. You can start again with that 5K. You can run around your block and you are a runner. So I call this the Ultra Bucket. We had all of our stuff picked up on Wednesday with the move, and I needed a place to put all of the stuff I need for my Ultra in one place. So it's all in here. So I'm doing the best with what I have because our house is completely empty because we are moving in 2 days. So that's fun, just adding all of that to everything's going on. But I'm gonna go through my pack super fast. I'm not gonna do a ton of detail on this. I actually posted an Instagram post on it on the 18th if you wanna check it out. But quick rundown. I wear the Nathan Vapor Swiftra pack and I love it. Best feature is that it holds 2 water bottles up front. And in those water bottles, I will have Tailwind. So it is a carbohydrate and electrolyte powder. One packet yields 200 calories, which is about 50 grams of carbs. So I will wear my 2 water bottles up front and they will both have Tailwind in them. When I run out at the aid stations, and there's 2 aid stations that you'll pass a few times on the race course, when I run out, I will just fill my water up, and then these are awesome little to-go packs that I'll just dump in the front and then kind of refill. So my goal is to eat/drink 250 calories every hour, and that's gonna help prevention of bonking, which is when glycogen just is depleted and your body's like, I hate you, and it just wants to die on the floor. That's what's so important, is getting in enough calories every hour on the hour while you're on trail. So I will drink 1 water bottle with Tailwind in it, and then I'll have some sort of gummy, super favorite, also my favorite. So they're Honey Stinger brand. I also have trusty Goldfish and Sour Patch Kids. So when you're running really long distances, you're not gonna be hungry because all the blood in your stomach moves away and it goes to all of your outer extremities. So your body's not gonna tell you, hey, I'm hungry. You just have to feed it even when you're not hungry. So that's why I prefer drinking my calories, because it's super easy to digest and I don't really have to think about it. But gummies are also very easily digestible. Candy, chips, all those things just kind of go down the hatch super quick and super easy on the stomach. And that's what the aid stations are gonna have. So they will have chips, cookies, candy bars, Gatorade, water. So I have all this stuff in my pack, but I may get to an aid station and be like, I want salt and vinegar chips or whatever that said food is at the time, and I'm just gonna get it down the hatch. So it's gonna be a wee bit chilly tomorrow, so I plan on wearing leggings and then a long sleeve shirt. And I have this Patagonia, it's a super thin shell. I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but the fabric is like a wind shell, but it helps keep the heat in. So I'm gonna start the race with this on, and honestly, in like 2 minutes, I'm probably gonna be hot. So I'll take it off, and it packs super small. So I'll just shove that in my pack and call it a day. And the trusty buff headwear. So obviously COVID is very present. The pandemic is here. My race was actually canceled and then it was reinstated. So I have emotional whiplash from the race being canceled and me just being like, cool, I'm super at peace with running a self-supported race. I'm gonna do it on my own. I've been training. I'm not gonna run just because the race was canceled. 2 days later, they reinstated the race. There's a ton of COVID protocol in place, which is awesome. One of them is obviously masks. So I wear Buff regularly around my neck because it's just super cute and it's a little another layer of warmth, but it doubles as a face mask as well. So anytime you cannot socially distance, anytime you're at the start or finish line or at an aid station, you are required to wear a mask. And if you're running and there's no one around you, cool, you can pull it down. So I will be rocking the Buff. I actually bought this one just for the race. All right, I think that's everything. Yeah, so I'm gonna take you guys along tomorrow the best I can. No guarantees what footage I will or will not get, because we'll just see how it goes. So today required a ton of additional carbs and a lot of calories. In this training cycle, I'm having to eat a ton of food to support recovery, to support all of the training I'm doing, making sure I'm sleeping, managing stress, all those things. Really important pieces of the puzzle when you're training. But today specifically, I need to make sure my glycogen stores are way topped off and just overflowing, because tomorrow is going to require a ton of output and I need to make sure I'm fed. So yeah, wasn't hungry today. Go figure. So I just had bagels, goldfish, I did some noodles, a smoothie, and tonight we're gonna get something that I'm that I'm comfortable eating, because I'm not gonna try some new food because it's probably gonna wreck my stomach, and then tomorrow I'm gonna have massive regrets. So we'll probably do tacos from a local taco place, or we'll get like chicken sandwich somewhere. There's something I'm comfortable eating. We don't have a ton of food here just because we are moving and we don't want to buy a bunch of stuff and then have to throw it away. So yeah, we'll see what's on the menu. So I actually can't eat a ton before I run in the morning. However, I will have some of my favorite cold brew from my favorite coffee shop. No, I'm not drinking all of that. My heart would explode if I did. And then I'm going to just smash a Dave's Killer Bagel, favorite brand. I eat one every morning, and I'm gonna put a little bit of butter on it and call it a day. Good morning, hello. Today's the day. I actually slept last night, so that's super cool. I'm gonna make some cold brew, make my bagel, and then we're gonna head to the trail. Hello, and checking in from mile 23 of 31.1. Feeling good. My legs are feeling a little bit heavy, which is to be expected, but staying up with nutrition every hour, crushing tons of carbs. My stomach's a little like trying to figure out what's going on, but that's okay. So yeah, gonna keep pushing through. I'm actually ahead of schedule, which is awesome, by 30 minutes. And I'm like kind of surprised, but not surprised, because when you're in a race, you're just like cruising, adrenaline's going, you're trying to pace with other people, so it's going good, and I'll catch up with you at the end.
Let's go, B! Woo! Oh yeah! All the way through, all the way through! You just ran your first ultra marathon.
I did.
How did it feel?
Well, I beat my time by an hour, so that's cool, and my legs really hurt.
Little things?
And my chicken nuggets are wet, look. We had to run through 2 streams.
2?
3 streams. 3 streams.
Was it 2 or 3?
I don't know, I blacked out. I blacked out the last couple miles.
What was the first thing you're gonna do?
Take my shoes off and sit down. No, I can't sit down. Like, my legs are cramped if I sit down. Eat something.
Any advice for your first 50Kers?
Just do it. It's really fucking hard, but you should totally do it. I had an entire recap video already done and filmed, but when I uploaded all the videos, it all sounded like an alien had encrypting them, and none of them were salvageable. They came through. So here I am, 1 week and 1 day later, recording a recap video for you guys. Overall, my 50K went beautifully. It was incredible. I 10 for 10 recommend it, and I would 100% do it again. I was able to get in to the 8:45 heat. So every 15 minutes they started a wave of runners. Just with COVID, they're trying to socially distance the best they can. So essentially every 15 minutes a new wave of runners started. So I got in the 8:45 heat, which is awesome. I finished the race in 45 to 60 minutes faster than I anticipated. So that's super cool. During the race, I did really awesome with keeping up my nutrition every hour on the hour. And it's so crucial for long distance running to make sure you stay in front of your nutrition. And throughout the race, my legs felt good, my hips felt good, my ankles were good. I felt really fit. And I absolutely believe that is attributed to really solid programming through my coach and just being super consistent with training. Even if things look different throughout the training than they were like outlined to look, that's okay, because the consistency, it's the time on feet. So my training, which I think honestly was harder than the actual run itself, led me to just have a really solid and I felt really good during the entire race. Well, most of it. Things got a little dark around mile 21 to 24, and honestly that was to be expected for me. The longest run I did before I started the race was 22 miles, and I did it back-to-back. So 22 miles on Saturday, 8 on Sunday, just to get that volume in. So I knew if I could do 22 miles, I could do 31, but it still doesn't remove the fact that like things were gonna get a little dark and a little challenging psychologically in that mileage. So my body was there, my feet were moving. I know my feet can always carry me forward, but your mind gets in the way, and I really had to dig into that grit tank around that like 21 to 24 mile mark along the ultra. Thank goodness for aid stations, because they kind of broke up the bigness of the race. So cool, I'm getting a little bit dark, I'm digging into the grit tank, awesome. I know I have an aid station in 2 miles, so I can do a little bit of walking, grab some water, get some more calories, and then keep going. So it helps break up the big chunks of mileage. I picked up 2 friends to run with for the last few miles, so that definitely helped like distract my mind a little bit. I literally sprinted the last 2 miles because I was like, I just want to be done with this. I am so close, and the tide came up. So there were 3 pockets of these, like probably however many inches this is, of water, and it was chilly. So it was like 35, 36 degrees. And I looked down and I was like, well, I just gotta run through it. So I just booked it, and like my legs were soaking wet. It was super cold, but I was so close to the finish. I just had to keep going. After my gallivanting through the water, again, I had like 2 miles left. I made it through the finish line, and it was such a weird experience, like in a good way, because you just finished this really big thing that you've been training for months, and then you're like, am I done? Like that was it? And it's so weird. Like I said, training was so daunting and so hard that the race almost, it was still hard. The race was challenging, but it was almost like I was ready for it. I was prepared, and I crossed the finish line. I'm like, well, shit, I just did my first ever ultra marathon. My legs definitely felt really restless after I finished the run. So I was like trying to like squat down to like relieve some pressure. And like I laid down in the back of my friend's truck with like my feet in the air like a dead bug. But I felt good after. I crushed a bunch of food and drank a ton of water, just relaxed, took a hot shower and kicked it. Even a couple days after, the only recovery issue I ran into was my knees. They were a little bit achy, but other than that, I felt really good, and kind of outside of like the emotional fatigue and just a little bit of that underlying fatigue as well, and the fatigue and of the stress of everything we have going on, from the move to be publishing a book, running a small business. That's kind of all of that was there, but physically I felt really solid. And today, like I said, is a week and a day later, and I just haven't worked out this week. I've been going on walks. We did 2 hikes. We're out in the Pisgah area around Brevard, North Carolina, so I feel really good. Like I said, I haven't touched a dumbbell in like 3 weeks because I tapered the 2 weeks before my race. I didn't do any lifting, but feeling super solid. And again, I can attribute that to proper nutrition, making sure I'm sleeping at night, investing in a coach because she programmed everything for me, and just training appropriately, and then yeah, just smashing my first ultra marathon. Moxie and I want to thank you for watching this vlog. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you are on the fence about signing up for your first 5K or 50K or 100 mile or whatever it is, I recommend you doing it. Doing hard things just helps us grow an incredible amount physically and mentally. Have fun doing it, guys. Don't forget, yes, training is important, but you have to remember, like, it should be fun. You should be challenging yourself, and you should be just having a blast out on trail. So make sure you hit subscribe if you are new here and like this video.